Take the dog.
Woo! It's Halloween Spooktacular! If it's Tuesday, that means it's live for comics. That means it's time for some comic book school live. I'm Buddy Scalera. I'm your host, and I will be taking you through this Halloween Scaretacular. And no better way to do that than with my scary pumpkin from the 1970s. Woo! And now to bring on my scary co-host, Mike Scary Fasolo. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Bud.
How are you?
Good. Hey, you should have said that we were the ghosts.
Oh, we're the co-ghosts?
Instead of the host, the ghosts.
All right, you're going to snap your fingers and the lights are going to go on. Ready?
Okay, ready?
Wow, look at that. You got to do the other light too.
You couldn't tell me before.
No. All right, we're back. We're regular lit. Mike, we are loaded. People are commenting the wazoo. Look at that. Mike Ponce said we nailed it. She's scared.
She must be.
Mike is particularly terrified. Mike, look, we both wore our Halloween festival orange.
Yeah.
Nicely done. And Mike, tonight we are going to get into Halloween a little bit, but I took this out of my parents' attic. Did you have one like this when you went trick-or-treating? Did you have a hard one?
Of course, yeah.
It was back weird. When? Yeah, look, and you had this little strap that cut into your fingers, and you couldn't hold as much candy. That's why we didn't have as many like health-related diseases right after Halloween. How are the kids? They're in a diabetic coma. Great. So Mike Ponce, did you know, Mike Fasolo, that Mike Ponce became a proud papa?
Oh, I did not. Congratulations.
Right. Congratulations to Mike Ponce, who has just brought in the next generation of comic book creators.
Okay. Did he name it after a comic book character?
He I don't know. I'll have to ask him. Glenn, I have a sad story about the pillowcase. I will tell you about the pillowcase in a moment. But Mike, we have a pretty topical show. Congratulations to Mike Ponce. Said ARCHIE. Yeah, there you go. I'm running on caffeine and 45 minutes of sleep. So he'll go off during the show. Technically, yes. My kid's name is Leonardo. Wow. A true artist.
That's a name.
So, Mike, tonight, as you saw from the awesome graphic that I put together, we're going to be giving you a few Halloween comics for spooky reading. Like Spooky Mulder.
Spooky reading.
Mike, is this technically or good vibes? Yes, good vibes from the new dad. Agree or disagree? Halloween's the best holiday.
I would disagree.
What would you say is the best holiday, Mike?
Christmas.
Christmas, would you?
Yeah.
Really? I feel Halloween like Christmas is just fraught with pressure and.
No, you get together with. Well, it depends on how your family dynamic is, but I always thought it was the best because you get free stuff. I mean, you get free candy on Halloween, but you got presents, like good stuff. At least when you were a kid.
For Halloween, you got to be somebody else for a day, right? And we had those plastic masks, and you could be Frankenstein with a bib on.
Yeah, I do remember those.
You'd be trying to stick your tongue into that little slot, and
and then you get all sweaty under the mask.
And your mask is like this as you're running across the street. And that's horror. That's true horror. Halloween is my favorite, and I will share some Halloween reads for 2022, Mike. And I feel you're welcome to comment on them and share your thoughts. What do you think to that?
I think I will share some thoughts if I have
You
any,
will.
which is rare.
You should share. So share, rare, window, PowerPoint slides. Let them begin. You like when I make slides, don't you, Mike?
I do. I like, my favorite part is when you have to look around your screen to try and find what you're looking for.
You know, I got one of those little pressy button things, and
you don't use
I never use it.
Why bother?
Why bother? You know, Mike, what you should bother doing, of course, is checking out Apocalypse Boulevard, my comic book, which is currently up on Kickstarter. And for those of you who have a QR code reader, they can go check it out. Listen, I'm pumping this thing. I really want people to bid on it. Not bid on it. Pledge to it. The Fasolos pledged to it.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. And no reward selected. You just pledged to support it.
I just pledged because I saw, read a little bit of what it was about, and I said, I have to see this. I don't need a reward.
Yeah. Need a reward. What's wrong with the graphics? Aaron
doesn't
like
it all free anyway.
Well, Mike, I am honored that you did support my Kickstarter. Thank you so much. And let's get on with our first Halloween read. So, Mike, my first Halloween read is the Marvel Zombies series of comic books, where a virus infects all of the characters in the Marvel universe, except for a few, and we get to see the rotting zombieification of some of our favorite characters. And this original series was written by none other than Robert Kirkman, the genius, or one of the geniuses behind the Walking Dead comic book series. It is a ridiculously fun read. It's way better than it needed to be, and I liked the heck out of it. What do you think, Mike?
I have never read it. They kind of did something like this on the What If TV show for Marvel.
Oh, they did? I never watched any of those.
It was sort of like that. There was a zombie virus, and it had taken over a lot of the superheroes, and they had to go find something or other. But it was actually a really good one. But I would like to read the Marvel Zombies. Covers look great.
And yeah, the one on the far right is the covers edition by a very famous heavy metal artist named Arthur Soydam, I think might be the...
Oh, Artie. Yeah, Artie.
He was famous heavy metal artist and just drew outstanding paintings of Marvel Zombies that just brought you right into the story. Does Spider-Man eat MJ or Aunt May, or was it I don't know. I don't remember, Glenn. And I have to say that makes me want to reread it right now because, I read it when it first came out. It has been around for a long time. It is definitely high on my reread list. It is part of our collection. My second recommendation, Mike, Archie Comics did a takeoff on horror movies with zombies, and it was really good.
I remember reading those.
Yeah, right? Didn't I give you those? Didn't I give you copies of those?
Maybe.
It was scarier than you would expect, isn't it? It's actually like they could have gotten away with almost anything. But the center scene here, I took at this panel where Hot Dog, the dog, has been run over by a car and dies and then comes back as a zombie, is really unnerving.
Yeah, it's not what you would expect from Archie being even like a Halloweenish type. You'd be, it'd be fun and goofy. Oh no, this was really dead on as zombies and stuff.
This was dead on.
Did you see what I did there?
And then they went and did Sabrina, which I know that they have a show on one of these channels. The comic itself is, once again, better than it needed to be. It is quite disturbing, and the art is extremely iconic. You can see from this cover here the way they use some really deep reds and darkness to enhance the story. I have to tell you, Mike, it's surprisingly good, and it's surprisingly disturbing as well. How did Sabrina and her lineage of witches come along? It was actually quite creepy. Sometimes dead is better. No reanimated pets. Yeah, reanimated pets. Usually you go easy on pets and dogs, right? Usually the dog never gets killed in any movie like Independence Day. But in this time, that's the first character to go, which is a little bit disturbing, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. They did kill the dog in Turner and Hooch, though. Spoiler alert.
Well, it's an old enough movie, but we also know it turns out okay.
Yeah, the TV series Sabrina was pretty good. Like that.
Anyway, Afterlife with Archie, definitely worth checking out, and definitely all the spin-off series like Sabrina. They did Jughead the Hunger, where I think he became a werewolf. It's good, fun stuff, and a twist on characters that you typically associate with being wholesome into something that is really not wholesome. And it really goes pretty far into the horror elements. They don't switch the camera away or anything. It's pretty gruesome.
It's good stuff.
Good stuff. So speaking of good stuff, let's take a look at our next set. I couldn't not include this, although it is not technically a Halloween read because it's called The Long Halloween. I think this came out when we were working at Wizard, Mike.
Yes, it did. I have never read it.
It's good. It's good. I will tell you that I made the panel with Poison Ivy there on the far right extra big. The artist, Tim Sell, who I think lost this year, great shame, a great loss to the comic book business, is at the top of his game in this. He draws Poison Ivy as just this wonderful organic character that takes over every scene. This is about a villain named Holiday. And what was interesting, I never realized it prior to this, Mike. Every month there is a holiday, and every month the killer kills a holiday-themed murder that Batman is trying to solve. For lack of a better term, I'm not really ruining much, but it does take over, I think it's either 12 or 13 issues, but Batman must stop Holiday.
I would ask if he does, but I don't want to ruin it.
No, you don't want to ruin it. Again, not just Halloween. It is all holidays, but it is called The Long Halloween, and it is quite an entertaining read by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. So if you want a little superhero twist to go with your Halloween theme.
And Batman is in the costume.
You cannot be wrong with Batman, because did you ever dress up as Batman in anything? I never did myself.
Maybe as a little kid. I don't really remember doing it.
I don't remember either ever dressing up as Batman. All right. What do we have next, Mike? Why don't you flip the page for me? Good. All right. So other horror. I'm going to take you through these, each one of them for a different reason. I'll start with Nice House on the Lake rather. I was mixing Last House on the Left with Nice House on the Lake. So Nice House on the Lake is a modern horror story. It is not complete. This is the cover to book 1. The story itself is a psychological thriller that happens in a location that you could call a nice house on the lake. And it's quite hard to understand what's happening in the first issue, but by the time you get to the end and the second issue, you start to realize that this is a formidable, wanted to throw that word in some point this week, horror story. Yeah, it's a really creepy story. It's currently coming out. They had paused for a couple of months. Now they're returned. So it's still out. So there's no spoilers out there other than to know that it is a really interesting horror story. Do you like horror stories like that, Mike? Like psychological thrillers?
Sometimes. I'm kind of not too into horror. I get scared easy.
Well, then you should not read Black Hole then. Black Hole, it starts off essentially as this disease that's sexually transmitted. So when teenagers begin to have sexual relationships, they pass an STD along that begins to morph their bodies and distort their bodies and rip them into different ways and turn them into giant insects and all kinds of creepy, crawly stuff. It sounds like it wouldn't be scary, but the art is so unblinkingly clear that you cannot help but be creeped out. It's a little disgusting, actually.
Oh, well, I won't be reading that one.
It's rather disturbing. It has been around for a very long time. Charles Burns continues to put out comic books, and they continue to be very creepy. The last one. Have you ever read Stray Bullets, Mike?
I've read some of it. I know I've seen it, but I don't think I've ever like sat down and read everything.
So David Lapham is after my own heart, Mike. He creates comic book stories about street level crime that take place a lot of times in New Jersey and are in the late 1970s and early 80s. So like right in my sweet zone. This particular issue of Stray Bullets takes place on Halloween and is disturbing. I should check that out. Black hole, that is. No, you should check all of them out, Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn. All of them. I'm not done
All
yet.
of them.
Yeah, just get your credit card out. So Stray Bullets #2 takes place the summer that Star Wars comes out. So 1977, blockbuster. All the kids are talking about it. And then it leads up to this story that takes place on Halloween night. It's more than just creepy. There's no supernatural elements to it. It is truly disturbing. And if you just read, it's a standalone story. If you just read this story, you would be as disturbed by it as me. I consistently will call this one of the scariest comics you can read because it is so, the violence is so disturbing that it actually takes you back. It takes your breath away. So, highly recommended if you're looking for something to challenge yourself. All three of these are quite challenging. I've put them together in themes, Mike. Challenging.
I will put these three on the list of things never to read.
Yeah, Stray Bullets. I will give you a copy of it. I anytime I see it at a comic show, I buy an extra copy just to give it to somebody. And go, this is freaky, and people tend to agree. So, are you ready for my next set of recommendations?
Yes, I am. Go.
All right. I would call this even more horror in the media. So there's media crossovers, far right, Swamp Thing. I don't know if there's any character they've tried to put on screen more ways than Swamp Thing. And I don't know. They never seem to work, right?
He's a tough character.
It is a tough character. A. Ruben has a Halloween flavored book. You mean it tastes like Halloween? What's Halloween?
What does Halloween taste like? Chocolate?
So Swamp Thing is quite a lot of fun. It was by Alan Moore at a time when expectations for comics were not very high. Came out starting in 1986, Mike. I think it was 86. No, maybe even a little bit before that. Anyway, 80s. You can find them. And what it did was it took the Swamp Thing character and took it to a horror realm. Started in a horror realm, but it took it to an intelligent level. And I think that it is definitely worth checking out and exploring, because you can go back and you can see how these horror elements are growing by none other than Alan Moore, the person who went on to author Watchmen, V for Vendetta, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. So lots of different media tie-ins. And Swamp Thing, of course, many movies and TV shows, has never really succeeded.
He's tough. He's very tough.
He's tough. All month long, Com Nation, which comes on right after our show here on YouTube, has been doing trivia and shows on Marvel and DC horror classics. I believe it. That's a great show. People should be watching that. The middle one, Amazing Spider-Man 124, one of my favorites, because J. Jonah Jameson's son, way back in the first issue of Spider-Man, was a pilot of some sort, an astronaut. I don't know how Spider-Man got into saving an astronaut. I don't really remember. I don't know how he got on top of a rocket that was being launched into space, but he saves J. Jonah Jameson's son. But J. Jonah Jameson's son is exposed and puts on a moon rock. I don't know why he puts on a moon rock and wears it as a necklace, but he turns into a werewolf called the Man-Wolf. This is not Werewolf by Night. This is Man-Wolf. And I don't know why he's wearing a yellow jumpsuit, for lack of a better term, right? It's like a sleeveless thing, right? It's yellow with green bunting, a green belt, and sort of shorts. And he terrorizes J. Jonah Jameson.
As he should.
Mike, I love this. When I was reading this as a kid, I absolutely was like, oh my God, J. Jonah Jameson's son has turned into a werewolf. Spider-Man has to protect him.
If you had a moon rock, wouldn't you put it on?
I would.
I would. Absolutely.
Oh, Aaron said that's a leotard, a yellow leotard. Or is it a leotard or a unitard? What's the difference between
a singlet?
A singlet. I wore a singlet when I used to wrestle in high school.
Huh.
Maybe it's a singlet. What is the difference between a leotard, a unitard, and a singlet, Mike? What are the difference?
That's for another show.
That's for something live when we go live to a conference. The one on the left, Elvira, I don't know if you can squint in there. That was one of my first published writing works. You can see my name there, bottom row, my name. It was one of my first bits of writing for Elvira, the Mistress of the Dark.
Did you get to meet Elvira?
Yeah. Oh, no. All right. It was the 70s. That's true, Rob. You know, you wore a unitard, a leotard, or a singlet. I am a little scared of yellow leotards. You shouldn't be, Ruth. Ruth from Combination says she's scared of yellow leotards, and I don't believe it. Ruth is definitely an animal print type of person, like a neon fuchsia animal print type of person. Don't you think, Mike?
I would agree with that. Yeah.
She could pull off a red spotted leopard print like no one else's business, right? And then dot perspective. That's it. I'm not sure what that meant, but anyway, this is among my first writing work. It's not terribly good, but I did try my best. It is actually part of the one of the rewards tiers on Apocalypse Boulevard, which people should go to Kickstarter and check out. And of course, here is the QR code if you cannot find it at any other point. So was that too subtle, Mike? Do you think people got?
You might want to make it a little bigger next time.
I might want to make it a little bit bigger. Anyway, what's fun about Elvira is Elvira was making fun of cheap horror movies on, what was it, like cable access or something. Yeah. And it just turned into this thing. And she was very charming and fun. She has been around for a long time. She just published an autobiography. And while I didn't get to meet her, I hope one day to meet Elvira, the Cassandra Peterson, and tell her that I wrote a couple issues of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and see if she cares.
I bet she will.
Right? Look at Aaron says, why is that the only button I can find without looking? So you mean this button? The button that shows Apocalypse Boulevard and the QR code? That button? I can find that one easily. Go ahead, Mike. What do you think Cassandra Peterson would say if, like, I was like, hey, I wrote a comic, that you appeared in like 20 years ago?
I think she would be like, that is fantastic. Congratulations.
I think so. I think there's no other way that you could describe it. All right. I think we're almost done. Okay. So this is the last set. So some true horror. One of my favorite comic series, other than Concrete, as you know, Mike, is Rachel Rising. Rachel Rising is this fantastic horror, love, friendship story about a woman named Rachel who wakes up in a shallow grave where she has been murdered and her body has been disposed of. She wakes up dead with ligature marks around her neck and must walk around and solve her own murder. So she rises from the grave. She's cold but animate, and she walks around and must solve her own murder. What do you think of that?
Is she a detective?
She is now, because she has to solve her own murder.
But other than that, she was just some woman.
Yeah, if I ever get strangled and thrown in a shallow grave, I hope I rise simply to be able to go out and support the Apocalypse Boulevard Kickstarter that everybody's been talking about.
I bet that would be a good thing to do.
I bet that would be the best thing to do. Okay, the one in the middle, I think it became I know it became a TV series either on, was it AMC, Mike?
AMC, yeah.
Did you watch it?
I didn't watch it, and I never even finished the entire series of the comics, but I did read most of it, and I liked it, what I did read.
How was the TV show? I watched the first episode and then never watched it again.
I never watched any of it, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I watched the first episode and it didn't hold my attention, and then other things did, and I moved on. Preacher essentially is a horror story about a preacher who gets the voice of God when God leaves heaven. He leaves heaven, and part of God's spirit goes into a Texas preacher named Jesse Custer. And Jesse Custer has literally the voice of God. So if he commands somebody to do something, they have to do it. He has this one superpower. But over the 75 issue run of Preacher, Jesse Custer travels the earth to try to find God to ask him why he abandoned his post at heaven.
And he's with a vampire, and who's the other one he's with?
Tulip, his girlfriend, Tulip. Tulip and Cassidy. That's Cassidy. I watched season 1. It was a prequel, a comic, or is that what they said? I don't know what they said. I would, Glenn, but was it good? I guess it wasn't that good because he didn't say he watched all the seasons. But Preacher was a great comic. Yes, Preacher was a great comic. This particular cover, I think, is to number 3. It gets pretty horrific because one of his traveling companions is Cassidy, who is a vampire, right, Mike?
He is, yes.
And he is pretty brutal.
He's a vampire, that's what they do.
Yeah, but he's not a sparkly vampire.
No, there should never be sparkly vampires because that's just dumb.
And then they had when Tom Cruise was a vampire in an Interview with the Vampire.
Yes.
Did you ever read that book by Anne Rice?
I never read the book. I saw the movie a couple times.
I read the book. I loved it. It was terrific. It was clever and smart. And then I read the other books. I didn't enjoy the other Anne Rice books as much.
No.
The Walking Dead. What can you say about The Walking Dead?
Everybody knows The Walking Dead.
It's famous because of the television show, but the comic books are absolutely essential reads, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to you, we were able to read so many of them from your generosity of bringing them home or sending them to my house. I've used Preacher to teach. What dialogue are you teaching, Ari? It's like full of F-bombs.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
When Arseface tries to talk, you just can't understand any of that.
Right. And Ari teaches school. I wonder, is he bringing that into the schools?
Is that why kids don't know English these days?
They don't. Because Ari is teaching them using Preacher. So anyway, Walking Dead certainly it holds up, Mike.
Worth
I don't
a
know
read.
if you've ever read
Really
it.
worth a read.
He teaches 12th graders. So 12th graders can handle F-bombs, right, Mike?
Yeah. Well, some of them.
Some of them?
Some of them.
All right. Well, he is an actual proper school teacher. And I believe that might be it. I think that is it. That is it, Mike. So I'm going to stop screen. And Mike, any recommendations from the land of Los Angeles about things that people might want to check out, watch, listen, eat, or otherwise taste Halloween?
Well, Halloween-ish, I would go with Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
And Angel. Angel and Buffy were.
I actually liked Angel better than Buffy. So Glenn Gotilla asked, so nothing by Steve Niles or Tim Seeley. Glenn, I would agree that those are worthy of consideration, and I should have probably included them on the list. You know what happened, Mike? There were so many different things that I didn't include because I waited until the last minute. I only came up with the theme of this morning.
Yeah,
so
well, it's a good job for just this morning.
Just this morning. So Glenn, you are right. Steve Niles and Tim Seeley. Oh, Buffy is a classic. Yeah, I would agree. Buffy is a classic. But for some reason, I enjoyed Angel more, Mike.
Angel was fun. Buffy was great. I would say Buffy was really good up until the last 2 seasons. Then it went a little off the rails.
It went a little sideways, right? And then there was lots of vampire slayers and stuff.
Yeah, they had a lot of great episodes in the last couple of seasons, like the singing one, which was
was great.
Yeah.
And they had the one alternate universe where a little redheaded girl, her friend was like a dominatrix, and she had Buffy in a dungeon or something. It was just, it got crazy, but it was very creative. And that was what I really enjoyed about Buffy. You could never get too crazy when it comes to Buffy. And then Angel just took it in a completely different direction, right?
Yeah, Angel was really good. I enjoyed Angel a lot.
I don't know if those are on any streaming services. Are they?
I don't know offhand. I would guess Netflix, maybe. Sounds
I don't
good.
know. I would have to check. Anyway, I love them all. They're a lot of fun. Any other recommendations for our viewers? I would say, Mike, that every year on DVD, I will rewatch Halloween, which I have to tell you, I know I saw it in the theaters. It must have been a rerun in the theaters. Just hearing that music just freaks me out.
When did you see it the first time?
I don't know. I must have been a kid. And, that was back when sometimes a movie would be in the theaters all summer, right? Like you didn't have as many movies.
Yeah.
So they just ran all summer. And I must have seen it in the theater, but then I must have grown up watching it on television as well. And I still to this day find that to be a very disturbing and chilling movie.
See, I saw it. I never saw it when I was a kid. I saw it the first time when I think I was in my 20s. And I was like, this isn't scary at all. I don't know why people are freaking out. But if you saw it when you were a kid, I can understand why it would be terrifying.
Let me just see something. So Halloween 1 was 1978. So if Jaws was 75, it's unlikely that I saw it in the theater then, Mike. I don't know if I did see it in the theater.
You just made that up.
Maybe I just dreamt that I thought I saw it in the theater. And so Erin says, for the kids, Nightmare Before Christmas, definitely. My kids always enjoyed that. She corrects this one, not the Gruyere pumpkin, Charlie Brown, but the Great Pumpkin.
The Gruyere pumpkin is the really scary one.
You think so?
Yeah. You don't want to show your kids that one. That's
the Gruyere pumpkin. Anyway, let's see. Should check out Terrifier 2.
I've heard a lot about Terrifier 2, but no, that's
somebody recommended Terrifier 2. They were like, it's so graphic and bloody and it's disgusting. And I'm like, why would I want to watch that?
That's the thing about that one. They say that people are passing out and puking in the theaters all over. It's so graphic and horrible. No.
That's the better one. The Grey Poupon pumpkin.
Oh, there we go.
I rewatched Hostel like this. Did you ever see the movie Hostel?
No, that's too much for me.
You know what? It's rough. Why not? I mean, I think he's talking about the Terrifier 2, but like I watched Hostel, Mike, and to me, it hurts to watch because it's so brutal and graphic.
Yeah.
I can't get into it. So there's Hostel, and what was the other one with the modern one where people have to make a decision about something?
And it's got the guy and they do the thing.
Hostel 2 is better. People help me out. What was it? It's like a clown mask of some sort. I forget.
And there's people in it, and
You're not helping. You're not helping. When Harry Met Sally, very scary. That's a weird thing to be scared by, Ruth. Saw. Look at Glenn.
That was your thing? You couldn't remember Saw.
Saw is actually pretty creepy. People were suggesting It. It wasn't It. I've never seen It. Have you seen It?
I have not seen it. I did see Saw. Saw, I actually enjoyed. It wasn't scary enough that I had to sit and watch it between my fingers, but it was.
The first one wasn't, right?
Yeah.
But when you get to the second and the third, it becomes what they call torture porn. I can't watch that. I'm watching it like this. It's like the Green Inferno. Did you see the Green Inferno?
No.
It was like, and then they stick their thumb in somebody's eyes and gouge it out.
Yeah, see, any movie I have to watch like this is not worth watching because you're not watching it.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Ichabod and Mr. Toad, any version. See that? Aaron's offering some respectable ideas. I saw both versions of it.
If you go on the Mr. Toad ride in Disneyland, you actually go to hell.
Hocus Pocus for the ladies of you do go to hell, really? Is that
there's a section where Mr. Toad's ride takes you through hell. It's weird.
And does he slash your Achilles heel and then you can't walk? I mean, when that guy in the movie hostile when he slashes the guy's Achilles heels and says, "You can leave now." And the guy stands up and his Achilles heels just rip open. Like, I'm like, why am I watching this? But I couldn't turn away. It's not there anymore.
What's not there anymore?
I don't know. They replaced it with something like Tiki Tiki Road. Ricky Tiki Tavi? Remember Ricky Tiki Tavi?
Oh, the Tiki Room. That's
the Tiki one. Ray Barry Halloween Tree. Ari always goes
watch the news. That's a good one.
That's true. It is a little scary. It's a little scary these days. But Mike, I have to tell you, I love, like I said, I love this time of the year, just because if you decide you want to wear a costume to work, you can. And I used to wear a costume. Remember, we would go to Wizard, we would go dress it for work, we would dress for the parties, and I have to say, I miss that.
Do you dress for giving out candy?
I used to. I will usually just wear like an orange shirt of some kind. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and Tiki Tiki Room were closed and replaced with something else.
That must be in Disney World.
Yeah, I would imagine she's talking about Disney World. You must be talking about Disneyland.
Yeah.
The California version. Any final thoughts on Halloween, Mike?
Look at all your candy before you eat it.
Look at all your candy before you eat it. All right. So early in the show, I did promise that Glenn had mentioned pillowcase. Do you want to know the pillowcase story, Mike?
Yes, I do.
So we would go trick-or-treating every year to my mother's sisters, my aunts. So all my cousins, who you know many of them, were about my age. And they lived in Queens. It was like the suburbs, but it was still New York. So when I say that, when I was about maybe 10, maybe 11, we went trick-or-treating and I came home and we took out our pillowcases. That's how we were walking around, with pillowcases. And my bag was lighter than everybody else. And I lifted it up and there was a cut in the bag. And my candy had been falling out. And my mother goes, "Oh, you got slashed." And I said, "What?" And I'm a kid. And she goes, "You got slashed. Some kid slashed it and then walked behind you and picked up your candy." And I'm like, "Ah!" So my mother's response, Mike, was classic my mom. She gave me a box cutter and told me to go find a kid smaller than me and slash their pillowcase and walk behind them until we got enough candy, which we did. We found kids smaller than us, and I slashed their pillowcase. At that point, enough candy. We just walked behind them, picked up the candy until we felt like we had enough, and then we came home.
Wow, I thought that was going to be. It was a sad story, but that made it even worse. That you
Mike,
actually.
Mike, my mom gave me a box cutter. I was like 10 years old.
He'll be fine with this.
Yeah. So there you go, Glenn. That was but my mom made sure that I picked on somebody else. I paid it backwards. That's good parenting.
She was at least smart enough to say, "Go find somebody smaller than you."
Yeah, right. So some recommendations, Mike. Wear more than the robe to give out candy.
Oh,
that is, wear something under the robe.
That's the scary part.
That's the scary part. That's the treat, Mike. Queens isn't a suburb; it's a borough. Oh, okay. Because I know the difference. I didn't know the difference. I lost all my candy. All right, that's Queens life, right? It's better than what happened to us in the DC suburbs. We got jumped and tumbled in the street. Such Halloween stories. They got jumped. Did you get jumped in Tuxedo, New York?
I never got jumped in Tuxedo.
I never got jumped either in Paramus,
which I'm very happy about.
But classic one, knowing my mother, no. She believed I needed to be toughened up. Here's a box cutter. Go find a kid smaller than you.
Here's a box cutter.
And you got slashed. So that was it.
And
so the kid that I slashed when I was 10 and they were maybe 6 or 7, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Some kid is telling the other side of that story, except he probably didn't go out and slash anybody's pillowcase.
He never went out again.
Yes.
He should have had.
That's true. Can't slash that.
Can't slash that puppy. But I think what it points out, Mike, is if you get preyed on, you have a choice. You could be a good person or become a predator. So do unto others. It's funny, Aaron. I didn't do unto other. I just did onto someone else because I couldn't beat the kid that did it to me. Lawsuit incoming, right, Rob? I think what's going to happen is some kid's been devastated for like 40 years, and they're like, "You're the guy. You were wearing the Frankenstein mask and the bib, weren't you?" And I'm like, "I was. I thought Frankenstein was stalking me." Anyway, Mike, I'm going to do a proper educational show next week, and then I'll be on the road, and we're going to be having a guest host. And before the pumpkins were invented. That's right, Mike. Before pumpkins were invented, because they invented them, they were like, you know, we should have something orange and not really
round, and they could put candy in it.
And they were like, hold on, I got an invention coming. And they invented the whole gourd family at the same time, Mike. So I agree with that one. Before pumpkins were invented, they're making fun of us being old, Mike.
Oh, I know.
Do you know I didn't shave on purpose today because I knew I'd be getting on the show with you.
Right, you didn't shave for a couple months.
This is you want to just see? Look, this is since Monday I didn't shave.
Wow.
I am a serious baby face, Mike. So there you go. That's a Halloween cover, right? A 40-year-old slasher revenge. That's right. This guy comes back 40 years later and exacts his revenge with a box cutter. If I just have to be walking around with a pillowcase long enough for him to slash it.
Maybe he'll slash your Achilles tendon.
His friend Jesus made them for Buddy. Wow.
Jesus, we need some pumpkins. Okay.
Pumpkins. I figured you guys would want water and wine and fish and bread. And he was like, and pumpkins.
We need some pumpkin bread as well.
That's the part of the Bible that people don't talk about, Mike. Jesus took water into wine, fishes and bread, and
pumpkins. Everybody got a free pumpkin when they were leaving that day.
They were like, Jesus is awesome.
He gave us pumpkins.
So that's it, Mike. Next week, I'm going to do a proper show. I'm going to be talking about the right-hand side cliffhanger that makes you want to turn the page. What do you think of that?
I think that's a good idea.
And then also people should check out Facebook. We have a Facebook group for Comic Book School. Prior to this, we have had, you've been drinking or you had pumpkins. Jesus jokes have begun. So we will be talking about cliffhangers. Oh, wait, no, wrong part. We have a Facebook group, Mike, and we will be, Jesus, look at this. They are just tomatoes to pumpkins.
Who invented the tomato, though?
Which is a fruit or a vegetable. And they should go check out my Kickstarter, which I will put up right here. Yeah, this is the Kickstarter. And if you cannot find it, you can always go and scan this QR code. I would like people to, if they are going to check out the Kickstarter, consider the digital edition, which is only $12 for all 4 issues. What makes it great is I don't have to print the comics. And I have, as you know, Mike, I did not print very many. So it's extremely limited, and I don't feel like shipping them out.
That's a good plan, then. You shouldn't have even offered any other option.
I shouldn't have. I should have literally just went the easy route.
You should just take pictures of the comics and send them the pictures digitally.
Send them the pictures digitally. But if people want to support me and all the wonderful things I'm doing here at Comic Book School, way to sell it. I know, Aaron. That's the thing. Mike and I are neither Mike nor I are good sellers. Are we good sellers, Mike? That's not the value. That's not why they have us in the room. Is a sandwich board with that hashtag?
Oh, that's good. That's good, Ari.
I like that. Ari's good. Ari's a writer. He does writery things.
Really, he's an English teacher too.
He does. He also checks his punctuation
That's
before
weird.
like he puts this up. He proofread it. He ran it through. Hit F7. The whole works. F7 spell check. So anyway, Mike, another entertaining show. Thank you for joining me, and thanks everybody for joining us this week and every week, where we talk about the craft and business of making comics. Join us on Facebook, our new Facebook group. Look for us on YouTube, and of course, support our Kickstarter. Mike, we will see them next week when we talk about cliffhanger endings. How does that sound?
You should end this episode on a cliffhanger.